All right, we are back with another picks video. We are joined by a familiar face now. He's been on before, Mason Shatwell. He is the co-host of the Sports Sesh podcast. He interviews lots of fighters, up-and-coming fighters and UFC fighters. He's interviewed guys like Sam Alvey. We've talked about him before, but yeah, if you haven't, check out his stuff. Very, very good interviews. And yeah, we'll jump right into it. We are here for the UFC 256 Figueiredo versus Moreno picks. We are doing all 10 fights. We lost another one, and who knows, by the time this video goes out, we might lose a couple more.
Let's hope not.
It's a decent card though. Like overall, I think it's one of the better ones top to bottom that we've seen in a little while, assuming we don't lose any more. The main event, or the main card especially, there's a lot of really good talent on there. I like it. Man, your thoughts on the card as a whole?
100%. I agree with you there. I'm really looking forward to this card. Top to bottom, I think we've got the upcoming stars in Chase Hooper fighting, and then from the top we've got Deiveson Figueiredo, and at the moment he's on a tear at the moment, and I'm sure we'll get onto him towards the end. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this card.
Did you get that poster recently, and did you attend that event?
I've had it for a while. I didn't attend the event, unfortunately, but when the UFC next comes over to the UK, I'm going to be making sure I'm there. Yeah.
Have you ever attended an event?
Not UFC, no.
Oh man, I've attended two, both in Canada, and obviously fight nights. I'm not from one of the bigger cities in Canada, but it's something special, man. It just the feel for it at the arena is different. I really I still like watching them at home because I like dissecting it, being able to see every individual punch. As fans, though, I think it is important to kind of get out there and at least attend one event, but there's nothing like watching it at home. I really don't like watching it in an arena. I don't like watching it in a bar. I like being home alone with a glass of whatever I'm drinking that night and just sitting down and dissecting it.
Yeah, you can't be being at home and watching the fights. Like you say, you can sit there, enjoy the fights, but also pay close attention to them, see what fighters' weaknesses are, and obviously, like the shows like we're doing now, adjust your picks in the future. Yeah,
definitely. All right, we'll jump right into it. This is a guy I've spoken to before, Pete Barrett. I like him a lot. He's got a lot of experience. I know he only has 15 fights, but the guy's been around. He's fought on the New England regional scene for a very, very long time. He trains with guys like Joe Lozon, and that whole gym is, stacked. Obviously, we know what Joe Lozon's capable of. And Chase Hooper, who has a lot of height. He didn't look amazing last time out. But that being said, man, the guy is so young, and he's got a bright future ahead of him. Well, who do you have winning this fight?
Well, first of all, as you said, Barrett trains with the guys like Joe Lozon. And as you say, we know what Joe can do. We've seen it over the years. And anyone that's training in his company and the guys he trains with, they've got to be very talented, to say the least. But with Chase Hooper, I really do enjoy watching this young guy. Unfortunately, last time out, it didn't go his way. He didn't look great. But I've got a feeling now he's lost his first fight, he's going to be more determined than ever to get back in there, get the win, and get a dominant performance. As we've seen in his fights before, he can submit you, he can TKO you, he can finish the fight how he pleases. And I think it's going to be quite a competitive fight. I think it's going to be quite technical, but I'm going for a Chase Hooper decision.
Yeah, it's a close one. It's really hard to pick this one because I really feel like we haven't seen either one of them fight elite level competition. Obviously, Barrett lost to Zalal, but given the circumstances around that fight, and we know how good Zalal is, it's kind of like, yeah, he lost to a good opponent, but we haven't seen them in the UFC long enough to know what they're capable of. They both lost last time out. Chase Hooper's win obviously is against Tamer, who for me isn't a UFC level fighter. And this is the younger Tamer, the featherweight Tamer, who's not very good. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. This is a tough fight, but what I do know is if you can go the distance with a guy like Youssef Zalal, there's a good chance you can go the distance with Chase Hooper. So I do think Pete Barrett's going to win this. I think he's going to be able to keep Chase Hooper off the ground, be able to jab him, stay at range. The one thing about Chase Hooper is if it goes to the ground, he's got the ability to put you away. The problem is Pete Barrett's training with Joe Lozon. and there's
Yeah.
not much that Chase Hooper can offer him on the ground that Joe Lozon can't. So I think just based on the fact that he's training with Joe Lozon specifically for this camp, I think he's going to go in having the right game plan. He's going to have the good looks. He's going to be able to say, you know what, I've trained with guys better than Chase Hooper on the ground, which gives him a lot of confidence. So I do think Pete Barrett's going to win it. I think he's going to win by decision.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. I think this fight could go either way. Obviously, as you say, on the ground, naturally, Chase will have the edge, but Pete's training with the guys like Joe Lozon, so obviously he's going to be well prepared in that sense. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Barrett pulls out a decision.
Yeah, and that's the thing about these main fights, like the pay-per-view fights, opposed to fight nights. I find fight nights are often lopsided. Like you look at it and you're like, okay, this guy is going to win. Like it's almost obvious. But with pay-per-views, it's usually very competitive fights from top to bottom, and it starts right away. That's a very competitive fight, and it's a hard one to pick. And then we'll jump right into this next one. Tasha Torres, obviously Angela Hill, test positive for COVID. She is out. And Sam Hughes steps up on like less than a week's notice to face one of the best fighters at 115. Your thoughts on, first off, her taking the fight, Tasha accepting it, and then obviously the matchup?
Well, I'll go first. The matchup. My prediction is going to be a bit wild because I always fancy an underdog, but on both women accepting the fight, you got to give the credit to Sam for accepting a fight against someone like Tasha on short notice. But many people forget the other person has also accepted the fight on short notice, whether or not they was training before. Sam Hughes is a different fighter to the woman Tasha was supposed to be fighting, and as we know, fights can go either way. I've got huge respect for both women for taking a fight on short notice, and I would like to say I'm looking forward to this, but the other women's fight on the card, I'm looking forward to it quite a bit more. But I think it's got the ability to be a full-out war, but it also does have the ability to be a 15-minute lackluster. No disrespect to the women, but I think it's got the ingredients to go more towards the lackluster just because it's short notice. Both women won't be fully prepared for each other. And I've just thrown the name. I've just gone for Sam Hughes' decision as a betting perspective, as a betting for the underdog. Yeah,
I think from a betting perspective, this may be one that, might be worth throwing Sam Hughes' way because, it is a different opponent. How many times have we seen guys or girls accept a fight on short notice and lose because of the stylistic differences? However, because of the fact that Sam hasn't been training, I guess maybe she's probably been training, but not for a fight.
Yeah,
I do feel like if she's gonna get it done, it's gonna be early. I mean, a lot of like Justin James, for example, he went in there and won within the first 30 seconds, and I think that's the key for these people stepping up on short notice is get it done early, so cardio isn't tested and whatnot. That being said, Tasha Torres has never been finished, and she's fought Jessica Andrade, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, Weili Zhang, Marina Rodriguez. That was her 4-fight losing streak. Like those women are all killers, and she wasn't finished in one of those fights. She's never been finished, and I think that's going to favor Tasha. I think the way for Sam Hughes to get it done is to finish Tasha, and I don't think you can. So I do think Tasha is she's gonna do what she does, and she's gonna grind it out, and she's gonna win a decision. I don't think she's going to be able to finish Sam Hughes, just given the fact that she hasn't had time to prep for her. But I do think Tasha's experience is going to go a long way, and I think she's going to win that fight with a decision.
100%. I just went for Sam Hughes from a betting perspective. Yeah. I just don't think this is going to be one of the best fights on the card, just based on the fact it's a real short notice fight. I do believe Tasha will win, but I've gone for Sam just from a betting perspective.
Yeah, and I mean, we have to commend Tasha, win or lose, because she had so much to lose accepting this fight. She just had a huge win over Brianna Van Buren. She's one of the best 115ers in the world, and she could be fighting anyone from Amanda Ribas, Michelle Watterson, any of these girls that are ranked that could move her up the ladder. And in fact, she accepted a short notice fight against someone who's not even in the organization. So a lot of props to her. She has everything to lose in this fight. So I hope she gets it done just based on the fact that I don't want to see her lose bad. I respect the fact that she took the fight, and for that reason, I'm rooting for her. I've always been a fan of her, but it's a tough fight though. Like anytime you take a fight on short notice, you could lose. We've seen it so many times. Like Luke Rockhold's the best example of it. Anybody, doesn't matter if you're the champion of the world, you accept a fight on short notice, even if you're better than the fighter, anything can happen. I don't know. It's a close one, and this is one that might be worth betting on the underdog for.
100%. Like you say, Luke Rockhold's a prime example of being no disrespect to Bisping, but he is a better technical fighter than Michael Bisping. But coming in on short notice, both guys, but preparing for someone like Rockhold was preparing for someone like Weidman, he then faces a completely different fighter in Bisping, and it doesn't always pay off your way.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we're going to jump into the one that I'm dying to watch. I think this is fight of the night for sure. Partially because Gavin Tucker, I say it every time I have an interview and I mention Gavin Tucker. He lives like across the street from me. I've had the invite to go train at his gym. Every time I look at him, I'm like, okay, I can't go to the gym. Like, it's just like he scares me so much. Like, I would not want to spar that man. That being said, I got to get over it and just go out there and train with Gavin Tucker. But Gavin Tucker versus Billy Quarantillo, they've been asking to fight each other for what seems to be like 2 or 3 years now, and they finally get it. So who do you have winning this one?
Well, I'm really looking forward to this fight. I do like watching Billy. I think he's on an 8-fight win streak. He's not lost, obviously, in 8 fights. I think his last fight was on the Contender Series, or I think it was the Contender Series. But Gavin Tucker, I do really like watching him. He's very, very powerful guy, very fast, very technical. I think on the night it comes down to who comes out better. Both guys have the ability to defeat each other. Again, I do think this is going to be. I agree, it's going to be fight of the night in my opinion. I just think it's going to be an all-out brawl. I've gone for Gavin Tucker, 3rd round TKO.
Yeah, it's such a hard fight. Like, it's such a hard fight to pick. Billy Quarantillo has so much momentum right now. He's on a tear. He looked unbelievable, I thought, against Spike Carlisle. Gavin Tucker, for me, he's just one of those guys that's always there. Like, doesn't matter. You could be. I saw it like when he fought Rick Glenn. I've never seen someone get beat so bad, but he didn't go away. He was always there. He was always in the fight. He's so tough mentally and physically, and that's the hardest thing to teach. You can't coach that. And it makes me proud to be, even mentioned in the same sentence as him from the same community when a guy like that is across the street from me. This is one where I'm 100% biased. Obviously, I'm rooting for Gavin Tucker. That being said, Billy Quarantillo is very, very good. And I think you saw it against Justin James for Gavin Tucker. He got caught. He gets caught early. But he can power his way through it and he can get it done late. So I do think that's the key here is weather that early storm and turn it on later in the 2nd round and then the 3rd. I do have Gavin Tucker via decision, but I wouldn't be surprised if Quarantillo got it done either. So it's a close one. This one for me is a toss-up, but because of bias, I'm going Gavin Tucker.
Yeah, like you say, I wouldn't be surprised if Billy gets this one, but I do believe Tucker has the grit and the determination to pull it out. I think it will go far. That's why I've gone for the 3rd round TKO. And
then we have almost the opposite matchup. So we had 2 people who are very, very good on the feet, very, very solid boxing, and then we have two girls who are unbelievable on the ground. I think the 2 best in the division. Virna Jandiroba looked unbelievable last time out when she finished. It was Felice Herring, right? Yeah, Felice Herring.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And MacKenzie Dern, obviously, we know what her credentials are in jiu-jitsu. She's rolled with Gabby Garcia, who's got, 100 and almost 200 pounds on her.
Yeah.
So that we're not even joking. If you don't know who Gabby Garcia is, look her up. She's like 265 pounds and very, very good. And MacKenzie Dern weighs less than half of that and rolled with her. So This is an exciting one, but I do think MacKenzie Dern's stand-up has improved drastically. She's looked very, very good on the feet. Her only loss is to Amanda Ribas, who's also very dangerous on the ground. So this could be very similar, where Jandiroba's submission defense may be able to nullify MacKenzie Dern's offense on the ground and vice versa. So I think this one might actually end up playing out a lot more on the feet. And I do think MacKenzie Dern has a slight advantage there, and I think she's going to win. I don't think she's going to be able to put away Jandiroba, but I think this is going to be like a very sloppy 3-round fight on the feet, and I do think MacKenzie Dern gets it done.
Well, I agree with the result. I think MacKenzie Dern gets it done via decision, but I think both women are going to go for it on the ground. Unlike the other women's fight, this is the one I'm really looking forward to. Both women, great jiu-jitsu artists, and I think they're both black belts, I think. And whenever you get two talented jiu-jitsu artists, can go either two ways. It's a masterclass on the ground or sloppy on the feet, depending on the striking skills. But yeah. I think like you say, each women's defense and offense on the ground may throw each other off and make it a sloppy fight on the feet. But I think both women will go for it on the ground, and I agree with the result with you. That's why I've gone for a MacKenzie Dern via decision. Yeah,
I think this is going to look a lot like Ben Askren and Damian Maia on the feet. It's just going to be not amazing on the feet, but when it goes to the ground, it's going to be exciting. The only thing is, I think both these girls are more talented than Ben Askren on the ground in terms of jiu-jitsu. So I think they aren't going to be able to submit each other. And I think that's what makes this very fun. It's like if you love jiu-jitsu, this is as exciting as a Francis Ngannou, Derek Lewis type fight. Like it really is. These are two of the best on the ground. So I'm really looking forward to this one. I think this one, whether or not it's exciting, like it doesn't matter. It's always like I'm going to look back at it afterwards, and I'm going to be like, oh, that was an ugly fight. But while I'm watching it, I'm going to be so entertained because you don't know what's going to happen when two girls are this good on the ground. It really only takes one little mistake to have an arm snatched up or a neck. Who knows? So it is really exciting.
100%. I'm really looking forward to this just because the abilities of it potentially going to a masterclass on the floor. And as you say, I think both of them are more talented in the jiu-jitsu sense than Ben Askren. And I do really think it's going to be a really exciting fight. Again, agree with you. During the fight, we're probably going to think it's a really good fight. Looking back on it, we're going to think we're as good as we thought. But either way, as long as we enjoy it during the fight's happening, that's all that matters.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we have the headliner there for the prelims, and this is unbelievable. I mean, the records Cub Swanson has, and the fact the guy's still fighting says so much about him, his mental toughness, and Daniel Pineda, man. I mean, the guy is a veteran. Obviously, he was competing outside the UFC, had a very, very good performance last time out, and now he's back and getting thrown at Cub Swanson. How many times have we had people like, oh, go ahead, fight Cub Swanson. You beat Cub Swanson, you're in the top 15. Artem Lobov, Du Ho Choi. The list goes on and on. Gracie, like all they do is throw them at Cub Swanson, and he continues to put them away. Your thoughts on Cub Swanson and then the matchup?
I love Cub Swanson, but I do think he's past his prime, as we know. But yeah, I'm glad that I wouldn't say the words glad, but I'm still happy to see his name on a card. I think for the better of him, it's probably one or two more fights and then it could be the end. But as a fan's perspective, I think it's great that we're still seeing a legend in the sport fighting. But again, the guy's fighting Daniel Pineda. He's a legend in his own right. Sure, this is his second stint with the UFC, and he's first fight in the UFC a long time ago. And yeah, I think Daniel's on a five fight win streak. Both guys have the ability to put each other away. This one, I don't know. It's a bit. I've thrown a spanner in the works here. I've gone with a Daniel Pineda second round submission, but I would not be surprised at all if Cub Swanson gets the win.
Yeah, this one's hard because we know what Cub Swanson is capable of doing on any given night. I mean, the guy is a warrior in every sense of the word. He hasn't had the best 6 fights, I think. He's lost 5 of his last 6. But, I mean, the guys he's faced have been warriors. Like, I mean, let's look at the list here. I mean, Jake Shields, who injured him in that grappling match. He beat Kron Gracie before that. Shane Burgos, Hinata Moikano, Frankie Edgar, and Brian Ortega. Like, those 4 guys there are unbelievable. Hinata Moikano also competing on this card, but that was at a time when Hinata Moikano was a threat for the belt at 145. So, and he lost to Burgos via split. So it is a very, very competitive matchup. Daniel Pineda, I mean, in his own right, since leaving the UFC, his only losses are to Emmanuel Sanchez via split and Georgi Karakayan, doctor stoppage because of a cut. So it's a hard one, man. And I really do think Daniel Pineda, had he not been fed Cub Swanson, could have. He could be. I think he could be a top 15 fighter, and I think Cub Swanson as well. And it sucks to see 2 veterans like this fight because one of them is going to lose so much steam. But I don't know. My heart's leaning Cub Swanson. My brain's saying Daniel Pineda, and I got to stop trusting my heart. And I'm going Daniel Pineda. I do think he gets it done. I don't think he's going to be able to finish Cub. I think when you fight a guy like Cub Swanson or Frankie Edgar, or one of these guys, one of the hardest things to do is to not respect them. And that's what I think it takes to finish these guys. If you have Cub Swanson hurt, but you respect him, you're not going to go in for the kill. And so many guys respect Cub Swanson. And I do think that it's going to be a decision. And I think Daniel Pineda will win it. I think it's going to be like, he's going to win it comfortably, like 2 rounds to 1, but it's going to be obvious that he won. So, so I have Daniel Pineda via decision. But Cub, I love Cub.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Cub does pull out a decision win. I just think both guys think they both have the ability to be top 15 fighters, but I think they're both past the prime. I don't think they're getting title contention, but I do agree with you saying top 15 more than a possibility. But the guys they've both fought in the past just shows the caliber of fighters they are. And as you said about Cubs losing 5 out of his last 6, the guys he lost against, nothing to be ashamed of. Brian Ortega, the likes of that, it's nothing to be ashamed of. But it's fine. I'm looking forward to, but at the same time, I'm not, because it is going to be a shame, as you say, one of the fighters lose so much steam.
Yep.
100%.
And then we'll jump right into the main card. This is where the fun begins here. I really think this main card is probably one of the better main cards of the year altogether. And we're starting off with Junior Dos Santos, obviously a legend in his own right, future Hall of Famer. The guys he's faced, his finish over Fabricio Verdum probably still gives Verdum nightmares. Like, the guy has a hell of a win streak. But right now he's struggling. He really is. He's going through a rough patch, but he's faced 3 killers. Opposite him, we've got Cyril Gaine, who's only 6 fights into his career, looks unbelievable every time he fights. But is Junior Dos Santos too much for him? What do you think? I
think, as you said, Junior Dos Santos is a legend in the sport. I do think it's his time now to hang up the gloves. He's had a great career, former champion. The wars with Kane, the fight with Fabricio, all the fights he's had, even the ones he's lost, a lot of them are great fights. And I am looking forward to this, but on the part of Cyril Gaine, because I always love seeing new up-and-coming prospects come through. But it is a shame to see him fight someone like Junior Dos Santos, just because it will. If he loses, it will be hard to watch, because I've loved growing up watching Junior Dos Santos. In the heavyweight division, he's one of the many names that will be remembered for a long time. Hall of Famer, definitely. But Cyril Gaine, 6-0. He's obviously won all fights. He can submit you and he can knock you out. I am quite worried for Dos Santos in this one, because I just think the power of Gaine is going to be quite a lot for him. I don't think he's going to be able to handle it. I'm going for a Cyril Gaine first round TKO.
Yeah, this one's a hard one, because when you have an undefeated fighter, even though he's only 6-0, he's never faced anybody like JDS. It's kind of like a Khamzat Chimaev, right? Like, he's got so much hype. We've never seen a flaw in his game. Like, so how do you say he's going to lose? Like, I can't give you a reason. The only way I can think of is JDS knocking him out, but he's never been knocked out. So it's so hard to to kind of not root against him, but predict against him. And for that reason, I have Cyril Gaine winning. That being said, I wouldn't be surprised if JDS went out there and starched him. Like, I wouldn't, because we know what JDS is capable of, and we'd just be like, okay, Cyril Gaine, too much too soon. But without knowing where his limit is, it's so hard to pick against him. And for that reason, I have Cyril Gaine. I think that he's got more tools right now. JDS is struggling, and as soon as you hit that point and you start going downhill, usually you don't come back up. I know Andrei Arlovsky just had that win. They're both kind of in a very similar spot, I think, where they're both struggling. But if they get the right matchup, they can pull out a win. I don't think Cyril Gaine is that matchup. I think Cyril Gaine is very, very talented. I thought he looked unbelievable against Tanner Boser. Wasn't able to get Boser out of there, but nobody does. Toughest Canadian outside of Gavin Tucker, I think. So yeah, I really do think Cyril Gaine gets it done. I think he's going to be able to finish JDS just like everybody else. But like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if JDS was able to do it.
No, and as you know, whenever anyone's fighting at heavyweight, the weight behind them is going to be converted into a lot of power. Both guys do have the ability to knock each other out. Saying that, I do think Cyril Gaine is going to be the guy to do it, but as you say, I would not be surprised at all if JDS pulls out a starcher. And
then we have a middleweight fight that is this one's really, really exciting. Kevin Holland versus Jacare Souza. Obviously, they switched opponents, so this is a relatively recent matchup, only a few weeks old. So not a whole lot of time for either opponent to kind of study the other's game plan, I guess, and build a strategy around it. So I like that more. It makes for a more exciting matchup usually. Kevin Holland, arguably fighter of the year if he gets this. He's looked unbelievable. He's calling out everybody. He's fighting guys that have no business even being there with him. What he did to Buckley was unbelievable. Obviously, Charlie Ontiveros last time. But Jacare, I mean, legend of the sport. We talked about the jiu-jitsu masterclass of MacKenzie, Dern, and Jandiroba. Nobody's got better jiu-jitsu in the UFC, other than maybe Damian Maia, than Jacare. The guy's a 4th degree black belt. I mean, the list goes on and on. On the feet, he has so much power. Your thoughts on this one?
I can't wait for this one, to be honest with you. I'm a big fan of Kevin Holland. This year, 4 fights so far, 4 wins, 3 finishes. The only fight that's been questionable is his fight against Darren Stewart, which a lot of people thought Darren won, but the only thought that mattered on the night was the 3 judges, and it did go to Kevin Holland's way. So now we've got to look past that fight. He looked good in his last fight against Charlie Ontiveros. I can't wait for this. Like you say, Jacare, legend in the sport. Probably, like you say, apart from Damian Maia, the best jiu-jitsu artist in the whole of the UFC, 4th degree black belt. I love watching both guys. I do think it's coming to the end of Jacare as well, because I just think he's had that many fights. I just don't know how he's going to be able to keep it up. This year, he's been quite unfortunate. I'm sure he's had 2 fights with Uriah Hall cancelled due to the COVID pandemic, and I would have loved to see them fights materialise. Hopefully it does before Jacare ends up retiring, but this fight, I think it's got to go Kevin Holland's way. I don't see the only way I see Jacare pulling it out is potentially a submission, but I don't know if he's going to be able to get Kevin in there. I think Kevin's power is going to be really on point in this one, and I'm going for a Kevin Holland 3rd round TKO just because just how we've seen him this year alone, he's a very powerful guy. So yeah, I'm going for the 3rd TKO.
It's hard. This one's a difficult one because we don't know where Jacare is at. He's taken so much time off. It's been over a year. Obviously, the fight fell through with Uriah Hall, then the Marvin Vettori mix-up. Now he's got Kevin Holland. But you look at his last – I mean, he's very similar to who was it that we talked about that was on a losing streak? We just talked about them. Why am I blanking? JDS.
Yeah.
Where the level of opposition is crazy. I mean, he lost a split to Jan Blachowicz last time out, and we saw what Jan can do. Jan is now the light heavyweight champion. Jack Hermanson before that. Kelvin Gastelum split, but he beat Chris Weidman. He beat Derek Brunson, Tim Boach. the only time he's been finished recently was against Robert Whittaker back in 2017, and Robert Whittaker finishes everybody not named Israel Adesanya or Yoel Romero, essentially. So he's facing the best guys in the world. It's bound to happen that he's going to lose some of these fights, and they're close. Kevin Holland, with all due respect to Kevin Holland, he doesn't have the resume of a Chris Weidman or Jack Hermanson or Blachowicz yet. So it's hard for me to kind of say, you know what, Kevin Holland's going to go out there and win. His last 2 fights were Charlie Ontiveros and Buckley. The Buckley one now looks impressive, but the level of opposition for me doesn't give me enough reason to think he can beat Jacare. I do think Jacare wins it on the ground. He's got more power, I think. The problem is, will Kevin Holland frustrate him with his antics, right? If he can keep him at range, get him frustrated, he might be able to win this fight. But I really think Jacare is going to be able to get it to the ground. It's 3 rounds. He's got time to get him to the ground. All it takes is he hurts Kevin Holland once. It's over on the ground, I think. Yeah. So I have Jacare Souza winning it. And I do think this is do or die for him. I mean, you saw what they did with Yoel Romero. Like, doesn't matter how good you are. If you're 44, you're out. So I do think this is do or die, and I think he's going to go out there and get it done.
100%. As you mentioned, Romero, if you're that age, it doesn't matter how good you are, you're going to get cut. And as we know, Dana's said there's around 60 fighters being cut, and I'm sure that's happening quite soon. And no one's safe from this, really. There's a lot of talk of the likes of Tyron Woodley going, Robbie Lawler, but Jacare, like you say, this is do or die. If he doesn't win, I do believe this is the end of the UFC career for him. And then if he loses and then he's out of the UFC, I don't even see someone like Bellator. I think maybe Bellator, but I don't know if Jacare will want to continue after the UFC. But if he loses, I think this will be his last fight.
Yeah, I do too. I really think this is one that he has to win. But it's not his fault. I mean, he's tried to fight, just other stuff has happened and cancellations, and he hasn't been able to. So, man, I really hope he gets it done, because I think he's been one of the scariest middleweights the past 5-6 years. No one's wanted to fight Jacare. Before Yoel, it was Jacare. Jacare was the guy no one wanted anything to do with. And to see him end his career like this, like a long layoff after a split decision to Jan and then losing to Kevin Holland, I think it would suck. And I don't think he deserves it. I think he really is a very talented fighter still, and hopefully he gets it done and gets to stick around.
100%.
Then we have Hinata Moikano, who we've mentioned a little bit before. He's facing Rafael Fiziev. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Striker versus grappler. Exciting. Who do you have winning this one?
I've actually got Fiziev. I just think he's very powerful, multiple stoppage victories, quite fast puncher as well. I like both guys, but I think this is going to be one of those where Fiziev's going to pull it out. I'm going for a Fiziev second round TKO. I just think he's going to be too powerful and too quick for it.
I have it the exact same way. I really do like Moicano. I think if it goes to the ground, Moicano can win. Fiziev's only loss is to a spinning back fist early, and Hinata Moicano is not going to do that. So not only does Rafael Fiziev train at Tiger Muay Thai, which is one of the best striking gyms in all of MMA, he's the head coach, right? So he's the head coach of striking for Valentina Shevchenko, Piotr Yan, Alexander Volkanovski. Man, I mean, if he's their head coach and we know what they can do on the feet, you saw what he did against Mark Diakiese. He practically did the limbo to avoid a kick. It was ridiculous. So I think on the feet, there's only one fighter winning this, and all fights start on the feet. So I have Fiziev winning it.
100%, I agree with you. As you say, he's the head coach of Tiger Muay Thai. The likes of Valentina Shevchenko, Petr Yan, Alexander Volkanovski are training there. And as we've seen, them people are great, some of the best strikers in the game. So if you've got their head coach in that gym fighting, then you just know he's going to be a talented guy. Yeah,
his striking is next level. I think he's there as the striking coach, which just says so much. I mean, if you're the striking coach at the best Muay Thai gym, it says a lot about what you can do on the feet. And I don't think he's been able to kind of fully display what he's capable of doing. I mean, the guys he's faced, Mark Diakiese is very, very good on the feet as well. So when he's facing someone who may not be at that level on the feet, I think we're going to really see what he's capable of. And I think he's going to put on a masterclass and get it done.
100%. I couldn't agree with you more.
All right. And then the most exciting fight I've seen in a while. Charles Oliveira, we know how exciting he is. The second it goes to the ground, he's a ninja down on the feet or on the ground, and his striking has improved incredibly. And he is facing probably the most exciting lightweight ever in Tony Ferguson. I think I like his style a little bit more than Justin Gaethje, the early Justin Gaethje. I just think the fact that he's so good, his scrambles, he's so much fun to watch. So Tony Ferguson, Charles Oliveira, who do you have winning this one?
Well, I can't wait for this fight. Obviously, the return of El Kukui, Tony Ferguson, last time out did take one hell of a beating from Gaethje, but whether that's going to affect his performance now, I don't know. I'm not going to lie, at the start of the week, I had Charles Oliveira winning this, but after seeing Tony throughout the week on the videos and interviews, I can't back against him. I just think a guy that's that confident and he doesn't even have a head coach, so he must be confident in his own abilities. He seen today on the UFC Embedded series, today's episode, he's gone to a trampoline place and gone jumping about. So if you're doing stuff like that on fight week, you must be more than prepared. So I can't wait for this one. I think this has the potential to be fight of the night also, but it also does have the ability to be a 3-round slugfest. But I don't think it's going to be like that. I think if it goes to the ground, Charles Oliveira will have the advantage, but on the feet, Tony does. But I think it's going to be a mix up of both. I do think it's going to be close, but I think Tony Ferguson is going to get the decision.
I was Charles Oliveira like you, but I was Charles Oliveira all week up until about noon today, and I had a light bulb moment. Like, Tony Ferguson's been hurt in so many fights, right? Like, Kevin Lee had him in mount, Anthony Pettis, Lando Venata. Like, he's been in so many vulnerable positions where if he gets there, Charles Oliveira wins. I think Charles Oliveira, if he has Tony Ferguson hurt, he's going to submit him. And like you said, Charles Oliveira on the ground is no slouch either. He's got the advantage there. Where I gained a lot of respect for Tony Ferguson was the Justin Gaethje loss. Like, if he can go through that amount of abuse for that long against a guy like Justin Gaethje, and the referee jumped in there, he didn't go down. It ended with Tony essentially just on his feet, turning the other way because he couldn't take any more damage, but he didn't go down. And I think that says a lot about how tough he is. So I don't think he's going to get hurt. I don't think he's going to get rocked. And Charles Oliveira on the feet is not as skilled as Tony. Tony's going to go in there and throw elbows. He's going to cut Charles up. If it goes to the ground and Tony's on top, he's going to throw elbows the whole time. Like, so if Charles Oliveira gets him to the ground and Charles Oliveira's on top, I think Charles Oliveira will submit him. But other than that, I think Tony will be able to get it done. I think Tony will be able to finish him. So I have second round TKO Tony. Charles Oliveira's streak is very, very impressive, but I think the only fight on there of note is Kevin Lee. I mean, as much respect as I have for Jared Gordon, I don't see them as quite the level of a Tony Ferguson. So I think Tony will get it done. I really do, but it's a tough one. Whoever the underdog is can take my money because I think this one could go either way, but I just have Tony.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I wouldn't be surprised if Charles Oliveira could submit Tony, but thing with that, if Tony does lose this fight, I don't know what will be next for him, but if Charles Oliveira does submit him, I don't think Tony will tap.
Yeah.
I don't think at all Tony will tap, but I think we're in for a war here, no matter what, if it goes to the ground or if it's on the feet. Obviously, we know Charles Oliveira's got the advantage on the floor, but Tony Ferguson's no slouch on the ground. He will be able to give a good fight on the floor, but Charles Oliveira will have the advantage, but yeah, I'm going for the Tony decision.
And then the last fight, quickest turnaround for a title fight, says a lot about Deiveson. It's like, I don't care about the belt, just let me fight. And, guys like that are scary. But someone else who has that exact same mentality is Brandon Moreno. I've been back and forth on this one too. Who do you have for this one?
Well, I can't wait for this one just because it's 3 weeks since they both guys last fought, because they both fought on the last show I was on, UFC 255, and spoke about. I think I predicted against Moreno on that one. I didn't think he was going to get past Rafael, but yes, he did it in great fashion, and now he's got the title fight he deserves. Dana even said on the night they're going to keep both guys over here and they're going to fight in December, and this is what's happening so far. Hopefully the fight stays on and doesn't fall due to COVID, but I don't think that will. But I'm just hoping for a full-out war. Deiveson Figueiredo, one of the best fighters in the flyweight division we've seen in a hell of a long time. This will be his fourth fight this year. He's had the 2 fights against Benavidez and now Alex Perez, and now he's fighting Brandon Moreno. I just think it's going to be a really good fight. Moreno's going to bring the fight to him as well, but I just think the speed and the power of Figueiredo is going to be too much. I'm going for a third round TKO for Deiveson Figueiredo.
Yeah, it's a hard one because I think it goes one of two ways, where it's the first 2.5 rounds, I think, favor Deiveson. He's so explosive. You saw it against Alex Perez. Like, all right, I'm just gonna shoot for your leg. Like that thing. It's ridiculous. Like 1 second he'll be completely still, and then we'll just lunge out and finish a guy. That being said, Brandon Moreno, not to mention the guy is from, I think, the country with the toughest people, Mexico. He's never been finished as a professional. His only loss via stoppage was on the Contender Series. He has losses to Pantoja and Sergio Pettis, but they were decisions. And I think the longer this goes, the more it favors Brandon Moreno. He doesn't seem to have cardio issues. Guys who are explosive tend to. And I think I do think the fact that Brandon Moreno doesn't usually get finished, has a hard time being finished, isn't going to favor Deiveson. So I wouldn't be surprised if Brandon Moreno wins this. I have Brandon Moreno. I had Brandon Moreno all week. I've said it yesterday on a call with Vince Morales. I said Brandon Moreno is going to upset, or I guess come in here and get the upset win. So I have to stick with it. But Deiveson Figueiredo is a monster. The guy is unbelievable. I think he's the best champion they've had since Demetrius Johnson. I really do. I think he beats Henry Cejudo, which is a crazy statement. But I do believe that Brandon Moreno can weather the early storm, and I think he'll get it done.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It's a bold statement, but I do believe Figueiredo is better than Henry Cejudo, but Brandon Moreno. And I agree. I wouldn't be surprised if he pulls off a decision win just based on his cardio, and his 2 losses was to Sergio and then the other guy, and they were both via decision. So he's got no problem with going the full distance. I know they would have been 15 minutes wrong, but a guy that's training for a world title fight, he shouldn't have any problem with going an extra 10 minutes. But I just believe the power and the speed is going to be too much for Brandon. But again, I would not be surprised at all if Brandon pulled off the victory.
Yeah, and what I like about it is neither one took much damage last time out. Like, they were both quick finishes, so they're fresh, right? Like, I know the weight cut isn't an issue for Brandon. It may be for Deiveson, so I'm also throwing that in there. Davison's a lot bigger. He has more weight to cut. The quick turnaround may not favor him as well. So taking all those things into consideration, I do have Brandon Moreno winning. And usually when title holders have quick turnaround, it doesn't usually end well. So I have Brandon. But it's one of these, man. It's really is a toss-up because it all depends on what happens early, in my opinion. I don't think Figgy wins it by decision. I don't think he win. I think if it goes to decisions, it's Brandon. But the question with guys like this, it's kind of like Francis Ngannou. Like, if Francis Ngannou were to fight Stipe, I have Stipe winning because I think he can weather the early storm. But if he can't, it's no question. So that's it. It really comes down to whether or not it's an early fight or a late fight. But I have Brandon Moreno.
100%. And again, I know I said it a minute ago, but I wouldn't be surprised if Brandon pulls it off just based on his cardio alone. And the comparison you made with Stipe and Ngannou is perfect. If Stipe was able to weather the early storm, I believe Stipe would win it by decision. But if not, obviously, we know how that one would go. But yeah, I said my prediction. I do believe Deiveson's going to get it done. But I just think I'm just hoping for a great fight.
All right, perfect. I'm going to ask one last question before I let you go. I know you're over in the UK, so it's a lot later there. I think it's like 11, isn't it?
It's just on 10:15.
10:15. So if you had one fight to pick as fight of the night, which do you think it is?
Which I want and which I think can be two different things. I think the Gavin Tucker fight is going to be fight of the night, but I want that Tony Ferguson fight to be fight of the night.
Yeah, I think if the Tony one is like, if Tony and Charles both come out to fight, there's no question that's going to be a war for however long it lasts. But I do have the Gavin Tucker one. I don't think either one of those guys gets finished easily. So that's why I think that one has a better chance of going the full 3 rounds than the Tony one does. But yeah, I like it, man. Yeah, so if you haven't, be sure to check out his stuff. He's got some really good interviews. It's the sports sesh, right, on YouTube? You just look at the sports sesh.
Yes.
And you're at what, 38 interviews?
No, we're doing 2 more this year, and then we'll be on 30.
30, so 28.
Yeah, 28.
Who do you have lined up? Can you share that, or?
We've got a UK journalist over here for the 30th, but for the 29th one, I think it's going to be myself and James speaking. But we've got some decent guests lined up for the next year that hopefully pull through. I'm not going to name drop any names, but all I'm going to say is the early days of the UFC.
I like it. I always like listening to the interviews with guys like the Pat Militiches and the Ken Shamrocks. Anytime those guys are on a show, it's always fun. So I can't wait to watch them, man. I really like your stuff. And if you haven't, make sure you follow him, MMA Mason on Twitter. Very good stuff. And thank you guys for watching. And we'll be back for UFC 257, which is Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier. I can't believe that's next month.
I can't wait for that one. I'll give my predictions close to the time, and hopefully I'll be on this show again soon.
All right. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.